God is good, and with each day that passes brings us a day closer to the launch of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. This is the Nathan Napalm channel, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing, especially if you're interested in Pantheon related content on our march to launch. Today, guys, very exciting day because we're going to be talking about the Paladin, my class, my chosen class. I love the Paladin, love playing them in almost every MMO I've ever played. We're going to be covering everything we know about the Paladin up to this point at the time of the recording. Now keep in mind that this is not a full ability list. There is plenty more abilities will be in the game. This is just going to give us a very clear picture of what the Paladin is and what it will play with. It's kind of like an overview kind of situation. Now, before we begin, I do want to give a big shout out to the members of Napalm for keeping my lights on, keeping me in business here on YouTube. Thank you very much. Couldn't do it without you. And if you're interested in becoming a member, please click the join button down below for more information and a list of perks. Now, the Paladins, they once were clerics themselves, and the Paladin has felt a call that transcends the rigid customs of the Cleric Order. Led by their convictions, the Paladins set off on their own to carry out their righteous judgment as they see fit. At its core, the Paladin is a plate armored melee specialist imbued with celestial power. This enables them to wield spoken rebukes with awesome effect. In addition, by shedding the dogma of the Cleric Order, they have devoted themselves to the study of arms and armor, giving Paladins renowned ability in defensive combat. Perhaps most ironically, the Paladin is driven by an unquenchable hatred of Undeath, a flame they have stoked into a ceaseless pursuit. Thus, a Paladin is never more fierce than when they stand face to face with the Undeath. They have a group role of tank, their combat resources, endurance, wrath, and reckoning points. Their available armor is cloth, light and heavy leather, light and heavy chain, light and heavy plate, and shields. Their available weapons are sword, greatsword, club, warhammer, great hammer, mace, great mace, edged, great blade, axe, great axe, and polearm. So before we even get into this, a couple things I want to point out is that there's a wide array of options here for the Paladin, especially in my opinion with the available weapons. So one of my favorite things to play around with the Paladin is the fact that you can go sword and shield, which is my personal favorite most of the time, but sometimes you might want to go two-handed, and I think that gives, tanks a lot of flexibility when they have that option, right? Are we going for pure defense? We'll go for a little bit more DPS, etc., etc. Are we going to focus more on dodging, or are we going to focus more on blocking? All that kind of thing. One of many reasons that I love the Paladin. Now, available races are very weak for the Paladin, and if you listen to my interview with Ben Dean recently, check it out if you haven't, it's here on the channel, then I asked him a couple of questions specific to the Paladin, since it is my favorite class. The available races are only the dwarf and the human. That's it. That's all we got right now. Now, since the Dark Mirror can be a cleric, I really feel like that they could leave the Cleric Order and become a Paladin. So I think the Dark Mirror should be added in here. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but I do believe that they fit with the lore and everything. But anyway, for now, at the time of this recording, we only have the Dwarf and Human, although I do have a good feeling we're going to have some more races added to that before we get to launch, hopefully. Alright guys, now let's get into the featured abilities for the Paladin, because it's going to give you a very good look at what the Paladin is going to play like. So first up, we have Insight. This is where the Paladin incites an enemy to anger, causing them to focus their attention on you for a short time. So Insight is your single target, seems like to me anyway. Provoke, to hold the hate, to hold the aggro. Very important for a tank, right? Next up, we have Oath Flame. This is where the Paladin heals an ally with a swift burst of celestial flame. So there's one of our heals available. And this is specifically says for an ally, and it's a quick casting, obviously, because with a swift burst, right? So smaller heal probably, but very quickly casted. Next up, we have Glory and Honor. This is where the Paladin grants an ally a percentage of their total armor class. While active, the damage they deal in combat is converted into healing for that ally. So this is a really cool heal effect where basically you can give up some of your armor class, and while you're taking damage, and you'll take more since your AC or armor class went down, some of that damage is converted into healing for the ally. And probably the amount of percentage is probably based on glyphs maybe, or even on leveling up, or maybe even unlocking more powerful versions of Glory and Honor, etc. Also like to mention, since you're a paladin, that this is a good ability for role-playing, like, you know, the paladin's selfless and all that kind of thing. And this, you take more damage so that you can heal an ally, so very in key with what a paladin is, so I really like it. Next up, we have pommel and cross. This is where the paladin strikes an enemy with the pommel of their weapon, dealing physical damage with a chance to stun. Then follow with a cleave that deals physical damage to nearby enemies in front of you. So I can see this as a way to help hold more hate on multiple enemies, and I really love having abilities like this because it sucks being a single target only tank. It's a pain in the butt and you end up breaking mezzes and all that kind of thing trying to hold all the aggro. So I really like this. I think this is pretty good. Now, once again though, talking about breaking mez, you will have to be careful where you aim this thing, okay? So it's a cleave, so I would assume that it's probably like a cone in front of you. It could be a circle AoE, hopefully not. I'm hoping for a cone so that you can aim it correctly and not accidentally break mez when you're doing this, because it does have a stun, and I do think that this is something that you'll want to do for multiple reasons, as I mentioned. Next up, we have Arcing Light. This is where the paladin instantly heals themselves. This heal then jumps to the next two group members with the lowest health. So I really like that. Now, obviously, I do believe the group members have to be within a certain range. Although it doesn't say that, I do believe that will be the case. But here's a self-heal plus a little bit of a heal to two members that obviously need it the most with the lowest health. Next up, we have Golden Aegis. This is where the paladin envelops themselves in a barrier of celestial light, making themselves invulnerable for a short time. So this is your paladin bubble. For a little bit of time, you're going to be invulnerable, and this may actually save the entire party, or in raid fights or boss fights, you can kind of absorb a massive tank buster hit that would really do some major damage to you or possibly kill you. Could see that being tied into raid mechanics and things like that. Next up, we have Living Light. So send forth flames of celestial light all around you, healing nearby allies. So this is going to be obviously a good group-based, probably a small heal, but still a group-based heal that you can use on your group or anyone standing near you. Once again, can see things like this coming in handy when you're in a raid fight and there's a mechanic and everybody has to gather up anyway, and you can shoot out a couple of these and get some heals off to help your healer out, or healers. I love it. Love having that ability to heal as a paladin. One of the main reasons I like Paladin. Next up, we have Edict of Celestial Authority. This is a sacred word of power that stuns an enemy for a short time and puts them in a disoriented state. So this is a common thing I've seen with other classes as well, where you get a stun, plus you put them in a disoriented state, making them clumsier, making them miss more often, or that kind of thing. So this is another great ability for the Paladin. Next up, we have Edict of Celestial Might. This is a sacred word of power that pulls an enemy to your location, so really good for a tank. And also, this is one of those abilities where if you get really good with your paladin and you really get to where you understand how to use this properly, you can maybe split mobs or pull away from a group, therefore not getting more aggro and more hate and end up wiping the party. So I do believe this will be very important and very key when a paladin is the main tank running through dungeons or through the overworld or whatever the case may be. Next up, we have Edict of Celestial Fury. This is a sacred word of power that reflects the next ability that would do damage to the paladin back at the attacker. So this is really cool because it reflects damage back at the enemy. So very cool there as well. Edict of Celestial Force. This is a sacred word of power that pushes an enemy backwards a short distance. So we got this push effect from the paladin. Really like it, and I really like that they made it, by the way, a kind of a paladin, magic power, because pushing them back could actually win a fight for you, because you could push them off a cliff. Now, you gotta be careful that they may come back with a ton of aggro, but maybe not, right? So that gives a lot more strategy to the Paladin when tanking and positioning, because I do believe they're probably gonna throw in some mechanics where you need to use this in order to survive the encounter, if there's too many adds on that encounter, etc. Next up, we have Wrathful Aegis. This radiates celestial flames that burn all enemies around you. And here it goes. Here's the important part. This ability generates bonus hate every second on all affected enemies. So this is right here. Now, we got the Earlier I talked about the Pommel and Cross, which is a cleave that deals physical damage to nearby enemies, but this one, Wrathful Aegis, we don't know what level we'll get this, right? But once you have this ability, right, a Paladin will actually be able to do really well with multiple mobs on them. Now, obviously, the Pantheon is not the kind of game where you want to have a ton of mobs on you, but sometimes that's what happens, and it's still best for the tank to hold that. I believe, in my opinion, to hold the aggro, even when you know you're going to die, the tank should still pull all the aggro and die so everybody else can escape, because in my opinion, that's the tank's job. But anyway, the Wrathful Aegis will be really good, and I always feel like tanks need this, right? They can't just single target. They got to be able to have some ability. Now, some could be better, others, etc. But I do think this will make the Paladin a very substantial, very important tank for groups, along with all the other things they can do. Now, next up, we have Atone. This is where the Paladin sacrifices half of their health to resurrect a fallen ally. Using this ability when below half health will cause the overzealous state, obstructing all healing on you while active. I really like this ability because, once again, the Paladin's supposed to be a selfless tank, and they sacrifice half their health to bring a fallen ally back to life. Now, it does not say if you can do this during battle. However, I think you can, and the reason I say that is because it specifically says it obstructs all healing on you while active, which wouldn't be as big of a deal if you're out of battle and rezzing someone, right? Because at that point, big deal, you can't get healed, you can just sit down for a while. So because of the way it's worded, I do believe that Atone will be an ability you can do, and you will be able to resurrect during a battle, which will make that a really big deal. Now, obviously, you have to be smart, because if you use it at the wrong time, you don't have full health, or right before a tank bust, or right before you take a lot of damage, or whatever, you're going to be in big trouble, because nobody's going to be able to heal you, and you're going to continue to take damage after you res that person, and you're going to die. So, once again, it has to be tactfully used. You have to be smart about when you use this. And I love it, and that is what we know. Now, once again, this is not a complete ability list. There will be more added. However, this gives us a very clear picture, in my opinion, of what the Paladin will be and what it will be like to play one, and also you can see a lot of strategy that's going to have to go into playing one, which I think is going to make the Paladin a super fun tank to play. And my chosen class, now for anybody in Pre-Alpha 5, as Ben stated in the interview I did with him, so now it is public knowledge, we don't know when we'll be able to play the Paladin. However, he is on the inside. That's his favorite class. That's, what he's going to play as well. So we do have a person on the inside trying to push to get this Paladin out for us to begin testing it and trying out some of these abilities and seeing how it all works. Of course, everything's under NDA, so we'll see. I'm going to try my best to try to show off the Paladin, and like they recently let Minus show off the Rogue because that's his main class, I am going to do my best to try to get a video together where I do get to show you the Paladin in-game and some of these abilities and my impressions and that kind of thing. As long as I can get approved by them, then I will get that out to you as soon as it's available and I can do that. I hope you enjoyed the video today about the Paladin. Are you planning, like me, to play the Paladin? If so, are you going to be a human, you're going to be a dwarf, or are you hoping for that Dark Myrrh or any other class? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, guys, thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing that. We talk about Pantheon Rise of the Fallen all the time. I have a huge playlist you should check out if you haven't already that goes through basically any subject matter you could possibly think of on Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. And guys, I want to give a big shout out to the members of Napalm. Thank you guys so much for keeping the lights on, keeping me in business. I could not do this without you, so really appreciate you. And if you're interested in becoming a member, please click the join button down below for more information and a list of perks. And until next time, guys, God bless and happy gaming. Please listen to what I say. I've been making videos all day. It's a video buffet, you can even hit replay. But please just subscribe. I can't even describe being part of my tribe. I'll even offer you a prize, but please just subscribe and hit the bell notification too.